Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This will be my top 10 stocks as we head into Tuesday, March 11th. This will be a technical analysis breakdown, so if you are someone that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used as a tool to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. First off, a couple of quick clarifications. Number one, the candlestick that you see right there will be moving around and changing. That is because the market is still open for a small amount of time. But I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement. Second, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame, meaning each one of these candlesticks here represents 30 minutes worth of time. So stock number one, we are looking at ticker symbol STSS. Big mover today, and one of those situations where you got to think a lot of people are now talking about it as it heads into Tuesday. But with that being said, certainly a big pullback to think at one point the price was up there and some poor souls were buying because yes, there has been a big pullback. There's no doubt about that. So there are definitely a lot of people watching it, which now brings us down to an area of support that you got to think a lot of people are watching, wondering, will there be some sort of double bottom down here right around the 42.25 cent area? So is it guaranteed to happen? Of course not. Is it valid to think that the price could come down here, find some support, and then get a bounce off that area? That is certainly a valid question to throw out there as something that could possibly happen. So again, 42.25, definitely going to be a key level to watch from a support standpoint. And also one of those areas where if it does not quite hold up, no guarantees, but you could very realistically see the price drift down to the moving averages down there. The purple line is a 50-period moving average, pink line being the 200-period moving average. Now, on the flip side of things, maybe this thing just all of a sudden snaps back up and starts to go in the other direction. I think that's where this trend line here comes into play as an interesting dynamic here. Meaning, again, no guarantees, but if the price can come up here, curl, and then get a break up through there, I could see that break creating some good, solid upwards buying pressure. But one hurdle at a time, especially when you have very clearly a lot of downwards pressure that has shown up. But the reason I am still willing to give the advantage to the bulls is because it is still above the lows right here. It's still up above these moving averages, which are increasing in the upwards direction. So yeah, things are looking shaky to an extent, but also, like I said, to be fair, there is still the opportunity for the price to ultimately build a higher base. So we'll see how the next couple of days play out. Next one here, looking at NVDA, and overall a rough move here as it once again dropped down below. And I made comments on this earlier last week about how as long as the price is down below that red line, I just don't trust any sort of upwards movements. And you can see several examples of that. Right here, the price made a bounce, ultimately failed. Right there, made a bounce, failed. Not as much, tried again and failed. And then most recently, we had this bounce up right here, and it's ultimately rolled back over. So I'm not saying that this thing can't ultimately make a reversal or anything like that. I'm just saying that, and let me extend this out, but as long as the price does remain down below that red line, I am very skeptical of any sort of attempted movement. So even right now, yeah, to give credit where credit's due, the price is working its way upwards, but I am very skeptical of it because not as only is it below that trend line, but it's also down below the purple line right there, 50-period moving average. So it's essentially a double whammy worth of reasoning on why I wouldn't necessarily trust any sort of movement in the upwards direction. And then in terms of areas of support, we have that trend line right there, which maybe will come into play. Let me get that green for support. So it might be worth keeping an eye on that moving forward in the next week. And we still do have this falling wedge pattern that's being formed here, which is a bullish pattern. Now, just because something's bullish does not mean guaranteed for sure the price is going to go upwards. But would it be shocking to anybody if this thing came up here and then broke, and then that break right there created some additional buying pressure? No, I don't think that would be shocking to anybody. Again, not guaranteed to happen, but a plausible thought process to have. But yeah, overall, the downwards drift continues. Next one here, TSLA Tesla, and we had this falling wedge, and I just made the comment that just because something's a bullish pattern does not mean for sure guaranteed it's going to go up, and we have a classic example of that right here. You can see falling wedge. It was knocking on the door on Friday of potentially trying to make a break up through, gap down, and then you can see right there, broke to the downside of the pattern, and then the rest is history. Just a brutal day for Tesla, a whole lot of bleeding, which carried the price downwards. So I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of these lines up here, and really just to simplify this moving forward, I would just watch that purple line. And as I already talked about, as long as the price remains down below that purple line, I'm not saying that Tesla can't make nice bounces. I would just be skeptical. Right there, a nice bounce, failed. There, bounce, failed. There's a nice bounce, and then once again failed. So that does not mean, because there are no guarantees that if it bounces again, that bounce is for sure going to fail. But just to reiterate, I'm just saying I would be skeptical of any sort of bullish action until the price can prove itself. And I'm defining quote unquote prove itself as being able to get above that purple line, and then more importantly, staying up above it. Because we have an instance right there where the price did get above the purple line, but when it came to trying to stay above it, you can see failed miserably and back down the price went. But all in all, the bleeding for Tesla continues, and we'll have to see if the price, at least at some point this week, if it can get up above that purple line. Next one, AEON, and we have an interesting scenario here with the pullback. So I want to map out a key level, at least in my opinion. I think it matches up with the purple line. Maybe I'm wrong. I am wrong. Somewhat close. But right here at the 80-cent mark, basic rule in charting, which states when levels of resistance are broken. So you can see right here, quite a bit of a track record right there of acting as resistance. But when they're broken, you want to see them act as support. And you can see right there on that candle, it was broken. And then when it comes to acting as support, you can see acted as support a couple times there. And then even during the final 30 minutes, didn't hit exactly, but got close and is once again acted as support. So moving forward, I would argue 80 cents, very, very important level that you do want to see hold strong, because in the event the price does not hold above it and it comes down here and breaks down below, what would you have at that point? At that point, you'd have the price having gone right back into this range where it just wasn't. I mean, not to insult your intelligence, but price movements that make really nice moves, so, makes a big explosion and all of a sudden goes back to where it was, not exactly a sign of genuine strength or a true breakout. So that's where I would definitely keep my eye on that level moving forward at 80 cents. If the price does try to bounce in, pretty brutal trend line when you look at how steep this thing is. So keep an eye on that. And if the price can curl back upwards and get a break up through there, then yeah, things could certainly get more interesting in the upwards direction. But as of right now, with the pullback, I think the higher priority is all about, will the price be able to stay above 80 cents? Next one, MLYS. Very, very impressive mover today. I mean, they had the gap up, and then from there, made the big move here. Sure, it's pulled back a little bit here, but even with the pullback, the price is still doing plenty fine and has plenty of opportunity. So let's get this pattern drawn into play. So I'd say we have a pretty well-defined area of resistance right up here as far as, where the seller showed up. And on the flip side of things, in terms of areas of support, have a nice little area of support right there. Let me again change that to green for support. And then just because I can't help myself, let's try to keep this the same color from a pattern standpoint. So we have our area of, whoa, that's way too big. Resistance, support, big move up. For you golfers out there, I'll try to make it a little bit more visual. Put the golf hole down here. This would be a bull pennant pattern. I'm trying a new annotation software, so I clearly miscalculated on how thick that was actually going to be. But anyways, there is the bull pennant pattern. And again, as I've said, just because something's a bullish pattern does not mean for sure guaranteed. But if the price were to all of a sudden come back upwards, let's try it, come down a little bit more. No, that's still pretty. Appreciate your patience in me. There we go. If the price were to come up there, that break in and of itself could create some additional buying pressure. But I appreciate your patience in me trying to figure out this new annotation tool. But yeah, overall, bull pennant pattern. Real quick, want to take a break and personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online webinar that I'm offering later on in the week. So if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and should be used to build consistency and manage risk, then definitely get signed up for the free live class. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down in the description box you can use to sign up. Or if you're watching right at my website, there's an area on the webpage you can use to sign up. So like I said, if you've been enjoying, then definitely get signed up for the free live class. Next one, looking at TRVI, and have yourselves a nice little pattern here. And it all starts with the fact that, yeah, things did start off pretty rough. Price gapped all the way up here, and then there was this pullback. And right here, it always becomes valid to throw out the question, is this a pump and dump? Is this some sort of gap and trap? But we got the answer here, and seemingly it is not, because to be fair, the price did at least level out and actually has a little slight upwards angle on it. Now, let me be very clear, and I wish I could say trading was this easy. Just because the price pulled back and now just because the price is going sideways does not mean for sure guaranteed this is the bottom of the pullback and for sure guaranteed this thing is getting ready to go back upwards. If only it were that easy. My point here is it's at least a plausible scenario to throw out there and consider. So on that note, key area of support that I would say, and just based on the fact of, where did the pullback finally stop? Right down there around the 575 mark. So keep an eye on that from a support standpoint. And then resistance, seemingly this area right here at about $6.30 is where the price has struggled. You can see try to get up it a couple times there and failed. And then once again, try to get up through there and couldn't quite do it. So $6.30 going to be that key battleground to watch if this thing does try to curl back upwards. But all in all, got the big move, bigger pullback, but it is now going sideways. So is this sideways action a leading indicator of a curl back upwards to come? We'll see what happens. Next one here, TSLL, and an absolutely brutal move here. Now, this one does mimic Tesla. It's one of these leveraged ETFs. So it's a way to trade Tesla just with more volatility. So this one got absolutely beat down here and essentially back to the drawing board. What I'm very curious about, and I'm not trying to impress you, I'm not trying to imply this is some sort of great discovery, but I think a lot of people have drawn that trend line right there. And when a lot of people are watching the same trend line and wondering the same things, call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, call it whatever you want, it can produce some very dynamic movement. So as I've said a million times, we'll probably say a million more times, no guarantees, but is it valid to think that the price can come up here and get a break up through that line, that break in and of itself could create additional buying pressure? In my opinion, that is a valid scenario. Even if it's just a dead cat bounce that, maybe comes up here a little bit more and then just rolls back over. From a trading standpoint, this sort of distance right here, I mean, that's you have some wiggle room in there to pull out some profits as a day trader. So even if it is just a dead cat bounce, like I said, from a trading angle, still plenty of opportunity. But again, that's not guaranteed to happen. It's just an area where it does seem like a lot of people are probably watching that trend line, so maybe you get some sort of self-fulfilling prophecy from there. In terms of areas of support and where those next ones could be, let's go to the daily time frame here. Meaning each one of these now represents an entire day, because as you're seeing here, it has been a long time since the price has been down this low. So let's get this to green for support. So next key area of support that I could see the price headed down to right around $6.70. But all in all, no doubt about it, an absolute beatdown. Next one, SNOA. Probably should have put this at a different location within the watch, just because same general idea that I talked about. Not the exact same pattern, but big move up and then it pulled back. And right here you start to go, uh-oh, was this just some sort of gap and trap pumping up? Seemingly got her answer though, leveled out, and now has a slight little upward slope to it. So hopefully all this sounds familiar, because same general idea here. But as far as areas of support are concerned, I think a nice little trend line right there could help out to just kind of illustrate the current pattern. And then as far as the areas of resistance are concerned, whoops. Come on now, there we go. As far as the areas of resistance are concerned, seems as though there's a key level right there about $2.95. So from a pattern standpoint, essentially you have this little, so resistance, support, have an ascending triangle. So if this thing bounces around a little bit more, as you can see, room is running out. So does it get a break to the upside? That remains to be seen. But looks like we'll probably get some sort of answer on Tuesday. But overall, very nice final 30 minutes here. So we'll see if this is indeed a leading indicator of potentially a breakout to the upside of the ascending triangle. Next one, MSTU, another one of these leverage ETFs that move very, very quickly. So today was an absolute beatdown here, but it does become interesting. Because again, beat down, but check this out. Past couple hours, price has essentially just been going sideways in this range. Now, just because it's going sideways, as I've said, doesn't mean guaranteed this is the bottom and guaranteed the price is going to get, head back upwards. But it's at least a valid thought to throw out there. As a case in point, let's just say the price was still just dropping, and I'm sitting here saying, hey, it's looking like this might be the bottom. You'd be totally justified to say, wait a second, based on what? The price is literally just going straight down. But that's not the case here. It has at least started to go sideways. So again, doesn't mean that this is the bottom. It just becomes a little bit more valid to throw that out there as a suggestion. And in terms of areas of support, nothing fancy here, just a question of where did the bleeding finally stop. So right there at about $3.75 would be what I would call that. Because as long as the price stays above that level, then you can at least still make the argument that, hey, it's going sideways, and sideways action does suggest, it makes it a plausible, possibility that maybe this thing is getting ready to head back up. But, if the price comes down there and crashes through there, well, then you can't make the argument anymore that it's going sideways. So you kind of have to go back to the drawing board from that angle. If the price does try to come back up, then have an interesting trend line right here to keep an eye on. But yeah, all in all, it's going sideways. It's been absolutely beat down. Is there going to be some sort of nice dead cat bounce that comes and makes it, from a trading standpoint, give some opportunity? We'll have to see how the next couple of days play out. Next one here, ticker symbol PLTR. And this was a rough one today, not necessarily because it was red, and this will mean a little bit more to those that have watched past videos. But if you have, then hopefully you remember me talking about the fact that this thing has been in a big old sideways channel. And I mean, it's been doing a good job of respecting the bottom of the channel. But you can see this morning, price came down. And you can see, again, it did try to respect, but ultimately just could not hang on. And now you have a full-blown separation to the downside. So that's where the first update comes into play. And this update is just based on a foundational rule in charting, which states when levels of support are broken and closed below, they tend to act as resistance. So if there is any sort of attempted curl back upwards, that'll be where the first question mark resides, in the sense of, can the price break back above, we'll call it $79.30, as that will be now the new initial area of resistance with any sort of attempted bounce. If it can, then you'll also want to keep an eye on that purple line right there, 50-period simple moving average. Keyword there being moving, so as time goes by, that line is going to move itself downwards and, essentially become a trend line that's drawn itself for you. But also, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself right now. It's really just a question of, can the price get even back up to $79.30 and then push up through that level. In terms of areas of support, no need to overcomplicate this. Really just a question of, where did the bleeding stop today? And the bleeding Stopped several times down here right around $74.50. But if the price pushes down through there, let's go to the daily chart. You can see that that would be putting the price down at levels that it's not seen for several weeks now. But yes, very, very strong move up, absolutely. But now, very, very brutal pullback to the downside. So that wraps up the top 10 list. Again, if you like what you saw here and you want to learn more about the tool, then definitely get signed up for the free class. Like I said, it'll be later this week, Thursday, March 13th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So I hope to see you there. As far as these top 10 videos are concerned, as always, if you appreciate these, hit that like button. And if you're looking for a super free and easy way to support the channel, if you could hit that subscribe button, that really does help out. And it's just a great, very effective way to support the channel. So thank you in advance for that consideration. So thanks for watching. Everybody take care. Have a good one. And make sure you get signed up for that free class.